There are lots of things you can spend your tax refund on, but one thing you don't have to spend it on? A new smartphone. Switch to Metro PCS now and get not one, but 2 free 4G LTE smartphones for brands like Samsung and LG. Plus, you're on T-Mobile's blazing fast nationwide 4G LTE network. Hurry! Switch to Metro PCS and get 2 free smartphones after instant rebate. One heck of a deal, only at Metro PCS. Limited time offer. Sales tax not included in phone price. Coverage and services not available everywhere. See store for details and terms and conditions.
Blog Talk Radio.
Live from Fort Bragg's backyard, this is the show that put the 110 Nation on the map. There is only one nation, the 110 Nation, and you're listening to the 110 Nation Sports Show, covering each and every sport across the board. There is no sport too large or too little. It's time to talk the talk. Here we go. Here's the man, the founder, and your host, Mr. CJ Sports.
I want to welcome everybody to the 110 Nation Sports Show. I am your host, Mr. CJ Sports. You can follow me at CJ Sports1. You can follow the 110 Nation at 110 Nation. Also, check us out on Facebook, my fan page, Mr. CJ Sports, the 110 Nation fan page, 110 Nation Sports. Also, check out our blog site, www.the110nationsports.com, or check our company site out, www.the110nation.com. For all the latest going on here at the 110 Nation. Oh, Manziel's rightly feeling himself. I tell you what, life has to be so rough to be an athlete. I followed up with Manu Ginobili. Will miss at least a month after the test dealer surgery. But let's get back on to the subject at hand here, and Johnny Manziel. Oh, Lord have mercy. Must be rough. I mean, there's really no other way to describe this whole fiasco known as Johnny Manziel. But Johnny Manziel was investigated for an altercation with his ex-girlfriend last week. Part of the police report said Manziel's girlfriend was concerned about his well-being, but the initial report never explained why. More troubling details have emerged before police announced Thursday that no charges will be filed. Of course not, it's Johnny Football. Including an accusation by ex-girlfriend Colleen Crowley that Manziel hit her, dragged her by her hair, and threatened to kill her and himself. Crowley said Manziel told her to shut up or I'll kill us both. WFAA reported. WFAA cited anonymous sources who shared details of Crowley's affidavit in his story. He grabbed me by my hair. He threw me back into the car and got back in himself. Crowley told police, according to WFAA. He hit me with his open hand on my left ear for jumping out of the car. I realized immediately that I could not hear out of that ear and still cannot today. 2 days later, here is what the Dallas Police Department said on the matter. Plain dealers Mary K. Cabot. The Dallas Police Department has conducted the appropriate investigation following to the report forwarded to us by the Fort Worth Police Department regarding an alleged incident involving Johnny Manziel. Investigative efforts to date have not resulted in the filing of a criminal complaint, and the incident is determined to be closed. No further statement is expected at this time. The Houston Chronicle, citing the police report, said Crowley told police Manziel struck her several times and appeared to be on some kind of drugs. The Chronicle story said that the alleged assault happened in Manziel's hotel room in Dallas, and that Crowley claimed Manziel struck her more times as he drove her home. Through the police report says Crowley again was somewhat vague on the details of the assault. WFAA said that Mansell threatened Crowley more at her apartment. Crowley pulled out a knife and Mansell fled. Crowley began to become irritated with the officer's questioning when asked about a further assault at her apartment. The police report said Crowley became increasingly uncooperative and refused to fill out a statement or make a report and wouldn't let officers to photograph her and her injuries. For any of those people out there that had any questions and any doubts and didn't understand why the Cleveland Browns was done with this drama and was done with anything to do with Johnny Manziel, there's right there. That should have right there ended any discussion of why the Browns. You'd be amazed how many people out there that still had some kind of sympathy for Johnny Manziel and didn't quite understand why Johnny Manziel was not, why the Browns were giving up on Manziel already. And then you got some people, well, who was it, Michael Irvin, Troy, one of them reached out and made a statement saying that he wished Jerry Jones would give Johnny Manziel an opportunity. I think it was Michael Irvin, and to really kind of help this young man's career and help him get him back on the path. You can't help those that don't want to be helped. And at this point, Johnny Manziel still does not want to be helped. If Johnny Manziel wanted to be helped, Johnny Manziel wouldn't put himself in these situations. Johnny Manziel wouldn't have to travel and put on the disguise to go partying in Vegas. And Johnny Manziel wouldn't be on video constantly drinking and the party life. Johnny Manziel brings all this on himself. And he gets no sympathy from anybody that either has legitimately tried to best of themselves, or any of those out there that just don't have the time or the patience for someone that does not want to help themselves. I boycotted my team for the longest of time for the ignorance of not only drafting Johnny Manziel, Johnny Manjoke, but also for wasting drafts by giving up stuff to advance, to move up, to move down in the draft, to draft Johnny Manziel, which, I'm sorry, made no sense to me at all. Why would you trade down? Why would you give anything up for a player that nobody else wants at all? And yet, that's what the Cleveland Browns decided to do. And now they have drug out project a lot longer than it ever should have been drug out because they gave up what they gave up. If it would have just been simply a first-round draft pick that you pissed away, which you shouldn't have in the first place, there was so many signs and so many reasons to not give Johnny Manziel a chance with your organization, especially in an organization that's just been so dysfunctional for so many years now. But because of the baggage, you knew that it came with them. You knew by the videos, by Well, that's just entertaining. There's a post on there that says, be honest, how many of you would pass a random drug test? And this person said, I would have passed it all, and always would, except one day in my life as a teen. I hardly drink alcohol. But that's not how. But anyway, you knew the package that came along with Johnny Manziel. You knew that he was doing autographs for money. You knew the party life. You've seen the videos. You were able to talk to the coaching staff. You knew all the drama that came along and all the rules that were going to be broken with Johnny Manziel. So it was not a shock. And because the fact you decided to move up there or move down in the draft to get Johnny Manziel, this project had to drag on much, much longer than it ever should have, just because. Just because. That's really it. Oh, goodness. Blue Browns, you obviously have to continue learning the hard way. And, it cost you a lot of respect around the league. It cost you a couple of years of progress. It cost you some draft picks. I mean, not only did it cost you the draft pick of the draft, the pick that you used to get him, but also what you gave up to move up in the draft. Good God. The drama never ends there. Oh, well. Sad thing is, I will be sitting in front of the TV watching my team, once again, Cleveland Browns, next year, hoping that we could at least go above 500 for only the fourth time since 1990. I mean, it would be really, really nice and really sweet. Not going to hold my breath on it, but, I will be there cheering them on. Go, team, go. Lord have mercy. Splash Brothers head up 3-point field. It honestly, is there really a point to the 3-point contest? I mean, Klay Thompson may give Steph Curry little competition, but I mean, is there really anybody that's going to knock down more 3-pointers than Steph Curry? I just don't see it happening. Your best opportunity here to take down Steph Curry, it might be J.J. Redick, believe it or not. Redick shooting a league best 48.2% from deep for the season, with Curry fourth, 49.9%. Klay Thompson seventh with 43.4%. Booker is 12th with 41.8%, and Middleton 15th this year with 41.1%. And while the conclusion of the 6'11" Bosch might raise some eyebrows, he's shooting nearly 37% won more than 4 long balls per game. Become quite the stretchy big man over the years, and you would be hard-pressed to say he hasn't earned some sort of all-star Saturday placement after leading the most dominant dynasty in the history of the now-defunct Shooting Stars competition. Got some good names. We got Steph Curry of the Golden State Warriors, Klay Thompson, Kyle Lowry of the Toronto Raptors, Chris Bosh, obviously the Heat, James Harden of the Houston Rockets, they ain't got a shot in the world, J.J. Redick, rookie Devin Booker of Phoenix, and Chris Middleton of the Milwaukee Bucks round out the stacked field. What are the odds that I'm not going to say probably, what are the odds the best three-point shooter in NBA history loses out to J.J. Redick? I don't know how the jokes will go with that. Well, not really. I don't think anybody's really going to care at the three-point contest. But that would definitely make for an interesting conversation, and I think that I think Clipper fans will have fun with that. Redick, almost 50%, a little over 45%. That's some excellent shooting down now. All-time made 50-point score. Yeah. Outside of Redick, and that's only if Redick has a good night. I don't see anybody else really staying that close to Steph Curry. Klay Thompson, maybe. But I don't know. It's almost unfair, and it almost makes it so it's uninteresting to watch. As cool as it is to sit here and watch the Golden State Warriors just go to town every single night. And just have an unlimited range, and as entertaining as it can be at times. It's not always entertaining. When they start winning these games by 20, 30 points, obviously the entertainment has exceeded its funness out of it. But as fun as it can be at times, I just can't imagine a contest, at least in a game. At least in a game, we're going to see other players. And we're going to see dunks. We're going to see steals. We're going to see some really good passing, ball handling. Saturday, all we're going to see is just 3 points. And like we discussed last night with Steph Curry, and to even complete the conversation we had last night, 51 points last night. Good God almighty. Steph Curry, 11 3-pointers before the game was over. First player to have multiple 11 3-pointers in a game. This man is scoring over 29 points a game, leading in the league. 14 of those games, he did not even see the fourth quarter. 12 of the other games, he only saw 6 minutes of the fourth quarter. Not to mention the lack of time that he plays throughout the game with getting his breaks. He's barely playing over 30 minutes a game, and yet is dominating the league and scoring in fourth and assist. But at least night in and night out, as entertaining at times and boring at other times it can be, at least there's other things to watch. I pray for the NBA's sake. I don't know if I'm going to tune into this Saturday night or not. I have not picked up my mind yet. I have done mention I have not watched the All-Star game in 25-ish or so years, and just really don't have the passion or the desire to really watch it. I'm going to be tuning in this year just because of the love and the respect that I expect to see given to Kobe Bryant. And pre-game, during the game, and post-game. If it wasn't for that, I would continue my streak. I tell you, I can remember I was in probably 5th, 6th grade at that point, maybe 7th, 8th grade. I can't remember. I mean, you're talking about the days back when David Robinson and Charles Barkley and Hakeem Olajuwon and Clyde Drexler and Michael Jordan, Patrick Ewing. You know, those are the days I'm talking about. I want to say Shaq is out there. It might have even been before Shaq's time, or Shaq might not have been. I don't remember who was on the All-Star, but that's the time frame I'm talking about. I remember that I had a little TV, and we snuck down to the basement of the church after service was out, and had some stuff going on, and we snuck down into a room, and we're down there watching the NBA All-Star game. And that was the last time that I cared to or made an effort to turn on the NBA All-Star game. I learned at a very young age that what the NBA calls an All-Star game, I call garbage. And it's just really just not entertaining at all. And I'm sorry to the generation now that's got to suffer through watching this garbage and never have gotten to really seeing, some kind of effort in an All-Star game. I even feel even more sorry for you because now the slam dunk contest is nowhere close to like it was. And I'm sorry, but nothing will ever compare to the days of Spud Webb and Michael Jordan and Clyde Drexler. And, I mean, the list could go on of names that, I got an opportunity to watch growing up in the slam dunk competition. And you're stuck with this half-butt attempt of a slam dunk competition with multiple, I screwed up, I get another shot at it. No, it was, you got an opportunity, and that was it. You did dunk. You don't get 20 times to make a dunk. And, I mean, the garbage that goes on now when it comes to All-Star Weekend, I really feel for this generation that's all they get to, observe. I mean, if you really want to watch an All-Star Weekend, you need to go back and catch some videos or YouTube, watch some real slam dunk competitions and watch some real All-Star games. And you probably even go back farther than my day. If I knew it was garbage in my day, when back about 25 years, obviously it had been going on as garbage for a while, and you might want to go back into the 80s or even the 70s to look at an All-Star game, even worth your time of even researching it. But like I said, this weekend, or the All-Star weekend, All-Star game the 14th, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to sit there and try to put myself through a three-point competition that I just don't see anybody knocking out Steph Curry. I just, like I said, Redick is really going to have to be on his game, or Klay Thompson is really going to have to be on his game, even more so, because he's not even top 10 when it comes to three-point percentage this year. So, or 7th, I'm sorry, not top 5. So you're looking at the 1st, 4th, and 7th, and that's really the only 3 I even look to be in this competition. And it come down to, with Redick, like I said, almost 50%, 48.2. I mean, just to know that the odds are Redick is going to hit 1 out of every 2 shots. And those are, I'm pretty sure, wide open shots. I mean, to them, it's like almost like a free throw shot. That's what they need to do. They need to have a free throw shooting competition as well. Well, let's get the worst 5 shooters, or the worst 8 shooters out there, and let's have them have a competition. That ought to be entertaining. Have DeAndre Jordan and Dwight Howard, and we can have a whole bunch of bozos out there trying to shoot free throws. That could get to be rather fun and entertaining. Oh my goodness. You probably got to hit 1, maybe 2, and and be good. I think that's about all it's going to take. Oh, goodness. You guys not been over to the blog site today, make sure you guys jump over to www.the110nationsports.com. We had a lot of press releases get dropped today. A lot of stuff going on as the NASCAR world is, I tell you what, next weekend the ARCA Series gets underway. I believe the K&N Pro Series as well. The following weekend after that, Daytona 500. I mean, we're right there. The weekend of the 28th, Atlanta. I was hoping to be able to go there, and I was about to put in my stuff to try to get an opportunity to go to Atlanta, and unfortunately, the boss lady at my real job, she informed me that they do the CIAA tournament every year, and that happens to be that weekend, and so I am not going to be able to skip out of town for the weekend. Kind of sucks. It also means that I will not be able to go celebrate my birthday that weekend, because that means I'll have to work in the morning at 5 o'clock on Sunday morning, so that means Saturday night there's not going to be a whole lot of nothing going on. As, going out and having too much fun and trying to do work at 5 o'clock in the morning just never happens very well. So I did that. I think I've done that like one time in almost a year and a half at this point, and that was New Year's Eve, and for my luck, the computer system had crashed, and so we weren't open until about noon that day. So I kind of caught me a few naps and had a chance to somewhat feel a little bit better by the time we finally got open. Still feel like crap when we did open, and it was a horrible morning. I could hardly find myself, getting comfortable, but it could have been a lot worse. I could have been open at 6 o'clock and had to suffer through it all day long. Honestly, if I'd had to open up at 6 o'clock, I probably would have visited the bathroom a time or two. Learned my lesson on that one, and that's just why I just usually don't. But we dropped a couple press releases. We found out who the mystery driver was over at Mason Mitchell Motorsports, and we will be having him on next week. Mason Mitchell Motorsports has Cole Powell to Daytona lineup. That was the mystery driver that Tim Clegg, we had him on earlier this week, was not allowed to drop the name on, and it was funny because every time I got an email from Miss or a message from Miss Lee with the schedule, it just says mystery driver from Mason Mitchell Motorsports. I know that we got a few we got a few drivers coming through over the next this next week, and I'm trying to pull up her last message right here. Here you go. Monday will be Triple M mystery driver. Of course, Tuesday we got Mason Mitchell himself and John Jr. From the Drive for Diversity program, and on Wednesday we have Dylan Lipton. So we got a nice little threesome of days of guests with those four drivers, and of course Izzo, and we're going to be working on a couple other things and see if we can make a couple other things work as well between now and next week. 2014 ARCA Series Racing Series presented by Menards Championship Team, Mason Mitchell Motorsports, we call Triple M, has dabbed Canadian driver Cole Powell to drive the number 78 Chevrolet for the Lucas Oil 200 at Daytona International Speedway. Powell received support from longtime supporter TRICARE and Cops Bodell. I'm thrilled we could get this deal done with Triple M, Powell stated. Even though I have raced Daytona in the past, every time we race here, it's like seeing the place the very first time all over again. I am just in shock that I am fortunate enough to be able to come race on such a famous track and race door-to-door with 40 other drivers. A win at Daytona would honestly be the best thing that could happen to me as a driver. A victory at Daytona might open doors for myself to compete in more races and maybe even land a full-time ride, which would be a dream come true. Powell will look to make his third Daytona ARCA start and his fourth start at a restrictor plate track in the 80-lap event. Powell's best finish came last season at Talladega, where he earned a podium finish by finishing third. Triple M had successful test sessions last month at Daytona, capturing the top 4 positions overall. I am really glad we are able to sign Cole for our Daytona driver lineup. Driver owner Mason Mitchell described. Cole and I have talked in the past about him driving for us. He has a solid background on restrictor plate tracks and almost won Talladega last spring. We're prepared to choose solid race cars for both of our drivers, and from our test results, I see no reason why we can't finish 1-2 in the race. In their second year as a team in ARCA Triple M captured 3 wins, Winchester, Iowa, and Kansas, with 2 different drivers, Austin Wayne Self and Mason Mitchell, of course. And, of course, Mason Mitchell had Iowa and Kansas, and Austin Wayne Self, Winchester. Well, I know that's because we had Mason Mitchell on right before Iowa and Kansas. So we are good luck charm for him. That's how I know this. But definitely excited about things going over at Triple M there. I'm looking forward to having not only Cole Powell on to talk about him and what he's expecting and the excitement of having an opportunity to drive for Triple M here at Daytona, but also Tuesday with Mason Mitchell coming on the show and talking to him, especially after talking to Tim Clegg, and we already have Cole Powell as well. Prior to Mason Mitchell, ought to make a really fun and entertaining show for us on Tuesday. BJ McLeod Motorsports expands to NASCAR Xfinity Series in 2016. Young's Motorsports to field NASCAR K&N Pro Series East effort in 2016. Rick Ware Racing to celebrate 25th year this year. Bristol Motor Speedway, a favorite topic for drivers during annual Charlotte Media Tour. ETSU football will play Western Carolina at Bristol Motor Speedway. If you guys not seen what they do with the football field inside the Coliseum, the last Coliseum there at Bristol Motor Speedway, is really cool to see. And then, of course, we had Dominique on last night, who joins Brett Racing for K&N Pro East Lake. Those were the press releases we dropped over, and there's more details, obviously, in each of those topics. If you guys want to jump over to www.the110nationsports.com, just amongst many of the articles we have over there and things that we're working on, just trying to get things situated and trying to make sure that we got on top of everything, because there's always a lot of stuff going on, and trying to gain and keep our focus and trying to expand and trying to do all this. I mean, you guys can only imagine, and I'm saying this, and I know that we got other networks that are tuning in, and I know that we got the I-95 Sports Network that this is going to be playing back on tomorrow, and if you guys have not checked them out, make sure you guys check out the I-95 Sports Network. Our shows are broadcast over there on Tuesday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon. We get the lunch hour, which we're really, really appreciative of. And then the Dirt Talk Hour, our Sunday night show plays on their program as well, or it's on their lineup on Mondays as well. So essentially we have a show on their network Monday through Saturday. We need to do a little something, get there. Get on Saturday or Sunday as well, too. I feel like maybe we're cutting ourselves short that we ain't on there 7 days a week with one of our shows. But it's, I'm not quite sure what people think or expect, because I get a lot of requests, and I get a lot of things brought to me that they played the Dirt Hour. They played that Dirt Hour. I think the Dirt Talk Hour was on during the day today too. Wow, they must really love that show, because they play that every day this week, just different times, just getting it's crazy, because the only show that is automatically scheduled already is either our show and they play 11 to 12 on Monday, the Dirt Talk Hour. But our shows are scheduled every day already, pre-ahead of time. Like, I can look at Friday's lineup. Right now, Friday lineup over there for the network is already lined up. And it's really cool. I love the relationship we have with these guys, and they run a really good network over there. But I'm glad that the Dirt Talk Hour, I tell you what, Sunday's show, if you guys missed Sunday's show, you guys missed one hell of a show. They had an all-star studded guest, and they had a blast. It was the first time that, we've had Damian Bean, and we had the Midwest Horsepower Hour, and then, of course, we've had Chris by himself the first hour for the Dirt Talk Hour, and he was on Racing with Big Sweat. But Sunday night show was the first time that we actually had both of them on at the same time. And of course, it was one of those things that, hey, damn, how's this going to sound? Is there going to be the chemistry there? You always got to worry. And I was just tickled to death that they hit it off really well. And, I talked about this last night because, this all originally was two different things prior to we actually landing with the 110 Nation and before we became an actual LLC. Back in the day, it was CJ Sports, and this was supposed to be a whole different concept, and we were supposed to be going a whole different path. And then I ran into who honestly I thought was going to be a long-time partner with this, and that's where the 110 originated, but it was 110 Sports Talk at the time. And it was crazy because it only lasted a couple months at most. That our partnership lasted. We happened to run into each other on Twitter. We both happened to be from Ohio. We both happened to have been stationed down here. We both happened to be prior military. We both happened to be, pretty much the same fan base. And so we had a lot in common, and it was crazy. A lot of people come to us talking about, how long you guys been doing this? It sounds like you guys been doing this for a while, and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, at that point in time, it's only been a few weeks. I'm like, we've only even known each other for like 2 or 3 weeks, or we've only known each other for a month, or, whatever it was at that time. And, a lot of jaws would hit the ground because they just assumed with the chemistry that we had that we had been at it for a couple of years. So, trying to balance everything. It's funny because people get a misconception of what we're doing and what other fellow podcasters or bloggers are doing. And of course, you do got a lot of them out there. They tinkle with it. They'll do a show here or a show there, or they'll write on their blog site once a month or once every couple months. But then you also got those that are consistent with it. Or you have those such as ourselves that everybody that's part of the 110 Nation wants to be part of the media or wants to make their career talking about or writing about sports. This is what they passionately want to do. It's not something that, something we want to tinkle with. No, there's not one person here that this is not what they want to do. Even down to what Miss Lee does. She loves what she does. She and even when it comes to a day that we're in a building and we have a full staff, and if it be we're still down here in North Carolina, or if we relocated into Ohio, which would put us an hour or two apart from her, she will still have that position. And hopefully, it gets to a point that one day that she can walk away from the job that she has now. And even though she does not have to clock in a traditional clock in and, be, at our location, she will still be an employee of the 110 Nation. She will be still part of the 110 Nation, and she'll still be drawing a weekly paycheck from the 110 Nation. There's not a single person that right now that is active. This is not what they want to do. Now it's my job, my responsibility to turn my dream into a reality, to provide an opportunity for everyone else. This is not just about me. This stopped being about me long time ago. April 15th, 2011 is when this all even was I don't know, a fart in the wind. I don't know how you want me to describe it. Originally this was just supposed to be, a way for me to compensate my income. I had lost my job. I had a boss that, at the time when I first got employed and left my other job that I was making real good money with to make even better money. I didn't really know a lot about his background, and then after working with him and find out that he used to be part of the KKK, and it was a very racial person, and I think if he could have got away with it from the comments he made about anywhere from 10 to 15-year-old little girls, I think that he would have done inappropriate things and talks about doing very inappropriate things with very young girls. So, we bumped heads, and I was let go because he didn't like the fact that I had pretty much an all-black crew, and most of our customers were black. And I'm sorry, but one, I'm the farthest thing from racist, and it's funny when one of the other networks out there, one of our competition networks, decided to try to throw the race car out there to try to damage our name. And it was funny because even at that particular time on my Facebook page, there was a picture of me being in a wedding, and here I am, the single white guy in the whole picture, and I am the best man at this wedding. And so it kind of made me shake my head. I'm like, I have all the things to, and it was funny because the people that called me racist, one of the guys was black and had actually been to my house a few times. And so it was one of those things, like, how are you going to call me this when y'all look at my Facebook page, you've been over to my house? Like, this makes no sense at the time. But, this turned, it was originally, like I said, it was supposed to compensate an income because I was let go because, one, I'm the part of the same from racist, but two, money's green. I don't care what color you are. As long as you hand me over real money, pay for my services or my goods or whatever job I work with, I could care less. Your skin color, your sexual preference, the sex that you even are, or anything else about you. I deal with more customers now and I have to perfect the customer service now. I'm a manager at a Circle K, and not the most luxurious job. I tell you what, I've had jobs where I was bringing home about $1,200 a week. When I was working at the one place that I got fired, plus the bouncing gigs I had going on, I was bringing home $1,200 a week. I was bringing home almost $800 a week from the pizza shop that I was running, and then about $400 a week in bouncing. To go from that to what I'm making now is not even a drop in the bucket. I'm not even making a fourth. Yeah, I'm barely making a fourth of that. I'm about bringing home about $300 a week. I really don't care. And it's not about the money. It really isn't. I enjoy, one, I get about 30 seconds to put on the best customer service I possibly can. And you're talking at least 1,000 customers a day. And so I honestly, truly, like I said, it has nothing to do with the pay now. Now it's about a job that I enjoy. I get benefits from it, and it works around everything I have going on. Yes, going to Atlanta this last weekend of this month would have been great, but in a year and a half, and this is the first event I have to miss because someone else already had an annual event going the same weekend, I can deal with that. Now, if there was something going on, yeah, I might have an issue with it. But to not be able to go to one event because there was already stuff, planned, I could deal with it. But time, when this whole company idea even came about, I went from bringing home about $1,200 a week to I went to work for some crap hole pizza place And I went to making, I want to say $8 an hour, and well, I worked inside, and it was like $6 an hour when I delivered, and I was barely getting 30 hours. You can imagine how crappy my checks were. And, of course, I'm the only one that had an income or had a job in the household, and there was 4 of us living in a house. So, that's originally what this was all even supposed to be about was, me looking into it. I didn't even know what I was signing up for. But once I figured it out, it was supposed to be a way for me to be able to help provide more of an income for our household. And of course, I worked my way up to where I was a GM at that Crab Hole Pizza place. And this Crab Hole Pizza place, kind of a knockoff of Papa John's. And it starts with an M. I don't want to throw it out there because their owner, which the owner and the owner brother is real bad on drugs. He ended up collapsing right after I left on the pizza line because he was so high on whatever he was taking. And the other owner, the other brother, he got locked up right after I ended up leaving for smacking his girlfriend around. So I don't try to give them free public advertising at all. I don't care if it's good or bad me talking about them. Because the only thing you're going to hear is that pizza's name, so I refuse. I tell you, it starts with an M, and it's a cheap, generic knockoff of Papa John's. But that's about the best the best I'm willing to tell you. But originally that's what it was about. And like I said, I worked my way up, and as I did, the focus kept changing. Once I caught on to what I stumbled across, and once I realized there's a lot more to this than me trying to make money. And once I started making connections and started making friends, and once this started going into the direction of me being able to help, once we started getting involved with all the foundations and charities that we were working with, if it was more than just me, or if it's Seek the Cancer, or if it was the beard guys here, the Cape Fear beard guys that we did the autism for a couple of years, and the Can Drive to help for raise money for breast cancer awareness, and everything that we have been involved with, the Pits for Poverty, the Breaks, all the charities that we've got ourselves in. Once our gears and our priorities started shifting, I tell you what, it's been different, and now now it's about not only the charities, but it's also as I'm forking out I'm forking out over 2 weeks worth of paychecks here in the next month in charities sponsorship. Still at this point, as we got the Seek to Destroy Cancer event here in Fayetteville, March 19th. I'm looking forward to that. They got a big wrestling event going on that we're one of the sponsors of, and we'll be down there for that. And then we're making sure that we lock our spot with more than just me in their 5K run that they got coming up. But once the focus changed, it gave this more of a purpose. And when the focus on this was about, it started becoming more of providing an opportunity. Not just to dibble-dabble around with this, not to see how many people we can get come on and help us out or see who wants to be out there writing and talking, but to make this a corporation, which we did, an LLC at the beginning of the year, and by no stretch of the imagination is this cheap to that. I want to say it was around $1,000 that we dropped, and then every 3 months I get a charge for like $80 or whatever to keep up with stuff. With that, and with everything going on, it became we want to provide an opportunity to provide a career, not just a job, but a career. I would rather have 10 people on, and they get enough of an income that they got to have one job, and they're not stressed about it, and their wives are not stressed about it, and they get to have a relaxing life and do what they love, versus having 30 people making bare minimum and have to have a second job, or that they're, not seeing each other because one's got to work while the other one's home and vice versa, like we do right now. I want to not only provide jobs, but provide an opportunity. And people just don't, I get messages all the time here. And I get emails and, and you hear people talk, oh, it's just a blog site or it's just a podcast. No, you're lacking to understand that, yes, there are a bunch of them out there it's just simply that. They're just simply diddling in their notebook, or they're just simply running their mouth just to run their mouth because they're on the internet and nobody can come punch them in the face for what they say. And then you got people such as the I-95 Sports Network that they have a crap ton of shows. I mean, they're 24 hours, and that's and you got us that we have a vision. We have a dream. We know where we want to be and where we want to go and where we've come from. I mean, I'm sitting here looking at the I-95 schedule, and I mean, they're just barely short right now of 24-hour radio. There's about a 3, maybe 4-hour gap at night that they're not hitting 24 hours. And, that's a great accomplishment. Our goal is to be 24 hours at some point, and it's going to take a lot of work. But it just amazed me because the messages I get and the tweets I get and the comments that are made, and I'm just like, and that's why it's rough. That's why some mornings, and I know this is on the leadership, and it really makes me look bad. But I know there's a lot of mornings like this week. We made one morning show, but you also got to understand that I'm up till 2 o'clock in the morning trying to finalize everything I can finalize and update everything I can update and download everything that can be downloaded and trying to prepare myself and prep myself as much as possible for the next day. And so when that alarm clock goes off, I mean, I hit that thing that snooze button so many times in my sleep this morning. It was 9:30 before I realized it was even 9:30. And, between trying to, participate in about 20 hours worth of radio talk, and then you got the blog site presence that I'm supposed to be keeping up with and doing stuff without any help and no writers right now, and the website trying to keep that up and current and everything else. You have no clue how stretched that you could be doing this stuff. And I'm not complaining about any stretch of the imagination. I just wish we was in a financial situation that this is all I did. It made my life much, much easier. This is all I had to do. As much as I love my job, and someone misunderstood me yesterday when I said Shorty, she had an interview for another job. They thought I did. They talking about, no, you can't leave. We don't want you to go nowhere. And I'm like, oh, no, I'm not going nowhere. I love my job. It's one of those things that it's a step in the right direction. If Shorty does get this, I know that they're setting her up for a second interview. She'll be getting almost double what she's getting paid now, which is about double what I'm getting paid now, so we make almost the same. And obviously that'll put us one step closer for me to be able to walk away from working and be able to focus more on the 110 Nation. We want to put ourselves in a better situation. And it's one of the things that I'll probably wait until after I become a store manager and both of us, making a substantial, both of us will have doubled our income and save a bunch of money before we go ahead and make that jump and be able to walk away from work and just be our full work. But at that point in time, I want the network to be 24/7 or as close as possible as I can, and have a supporting cast and some writers and everything else out there. So when I walk away, we are already a well-oiled machine, and now I'm just putting more time into it and really being more involved with the day-to-day stuff instead of with schedules and kids and everything else. It's hit and miss when and what I get to do. So I don't know. It's I tell you what, I definitely appreciate the support, and I've been overwhelmed and really pleasantly surprised by the support we've been getting, and especially the shows. This week's numbers have been really, really good. So I definitely want to thank everybody out there that is listening to us, either through our network or the I-95 network, or just stopping by the site, because we have the shows playing on the blog site and the website, or if you catch it over on iTunes or Stitcher or SoundCloud or Spreaker or Blog Talk, however you catch the show. We definitely appreciate it. I definitely got a shout out to those that catch it on SoundCloud. Our numbers have really started to grow some momentum that way. With us being on so many platforms, it's really hard to gauge the numbers unless you get an opportunity to see all the numbers, because the fact that we are on like 6 different networks, it kind of distorts the numbers, because now they're spread across everywhere. It's not like we're just at one place. It's not like we're just like on ESPN and that's it, and you just get one stat. With us being on iTunes, which we don't get those stats, and Stitcher, which we don't get those stats, but then SoundCloud, Spreaker, and Blog Talk Radio, which we do get those stats, and I-95, we don't get those stats, and of course they play it over in their pro coffee shops, which nobody gets those stats because they're just people walking in and out. And then, of course, the websites, we don't know how many are actually listening to it on the website. We can see how many people visit the website. It's a growing thing. We don't get a true reading necessarily all the time, but the ones that we do get readings on, we're constantly increasing our listenership, and every month gets better and better. And so I definitely want to thank everybody, but SoundCloud more specifically lately has really started to gain a following and listeners, so definitely appreciate that. Make sure you guys check us out. So we got the One Team Nation Morning Show, and I will make every effort possible. And you will know, you're a friend with us on Facebook, you will see it, because if I'm up, that means it got posted in the morning, and that means we are on, and there's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. But I should not, since I'm off tonight and off tomorrow, there should not be an issue. I got a nap a little bit early today. There should not be an issue with us being on tomorrow morning. So every Monday through Friday, 9 o'clock, the One Team Nation Morning Show. Monday through Friday, 9 p.m., the One Team Nation Sports Show. We got Sundays at 7 o'clock, we got the Happy Hour Garage. And then at 9 o'clock, we got the Dirt Talk Hour. This Saturday, we got a special edition at noon. We got a special edition of Happy Hour Garage. They had 2 episodes last week, and we had already bypassed when I can actually fit it into a slot due to how our programming is. So Spreaker Side House has already heard the show, but Blog Talk Radio, if you're strictly listening to it through Blog Talk, noon on Saturday, that will be released over there. So make sure you guys check that out as well. Super Bowl coming up right around the corner. Let me get back to a little bit of sports now that I kind of talked a little bit about us, and talked a little bit about what's going on and what it's like in the craziness here. And, if you're interested, let me throw this out there real quick before we talk about the Super Bowl. If you're interested in joining the One Team Nation, like I said, this is not something that we do for a hobby here. This is not something that, if you want to be, you can. If you want to come on board and just write an article here and there, or pop on once a week just to talk a little bit, that's cool. But for us, it's not a hobby. For Miss Lee, for myself, for Izzo, for Chris Creighton, and he's got his own company, but we're working really close with each other to make both of our projects, both of our companies, go to the next level. Not for Damien. These are what we want to be as career decisions and working on our career. But if you're interested in joining the One Team Nation, if it's something that, like I said, you just randomly want to drop articles here and there for us, or you want this to eventually be something that one day, with the help of building this into the right what word am I looking for? Basically help us make this where it is a self-sufficient company that provides an income and work towards being able to walk away from your job as well. We got people located in many different states, from Mississippi to Ohio, to the Midwest, I want to say Iowa or Idaho or somewhere, I forget where the human being is, that you don't have to be in North Carolina to be employed with us and one day, be able to walk away from your job. You just got to be here to help build this company or become a part of this company. But you're interested in writing for us. However, if it's to build onto a career, if it's a stepping stone, or it is something you want to do in your spare time, or maybe you have a show and you would love for us to rebroadcast it, syndicate it on our network like we do with the Happy Hour Garage. We would love to be able to fill more of our slots. We have, about 2 more hours a day on a regular basis that we have free that we would love to be able to fill that up. And trust me, if we can, if we fill that up, we will buy more time. Don't worry about that. We will up our spending, and we're about to be able to do that with the job anyway. But you got to show out there and you want to rebroadcast to our listeners and help your exposure and help us continue to build our brand. Hit me up, MrCJSports@gmail.com. Interested in coming on the show? You're an athlete, part of some kind of athletic organization, team, whatever the case may be. Maybe you got a show or site you want to come on and promote it and talk sports, and maybe you got some kind of charity or foundation. All you got to do is hit up Ms. Lee. That is LEE_110nation@yahoo.com. Also, if you're a company out there and you want to sponsor, we got some really, really good packages that we love. We're looking for a title sponsor. To kind of be the title that, this could be your company's studio, or this could be your company's hotline to call in, We offer a lot with it. You're talking over 100 commercials a month. You're talking over 100 posts and tweets a month. You're talking about being on the blog site, the company site. And if you're local to one of us, we'll not only support your company, but do some live remotes and everything else. But any events we're involved with, your name will be plastered out there as well for being a sponsor. And then also we got other sponsor packets as well. No matter how little or big your sponsor funds are, just let us know. We'll work with you. I have done stuff as simply as, make mention once a week or something in return for flyers on pizza boxes or, flyers that, this, that, and the other. It could be something that simple. But if you're interested in sponsoring, placing an ad with One Pin Nation, hit me up as well, MrCJSports@gmail.com. Super Bowl, just a few days away. Few days. Tell you what, we've had some really interesting Super Bowls over the years. And there's nothing worse. There's nothing worse than a blowout Super Bowl. The last thing we want to sit there and do is watch a blowout game, such as the Seattle Seahawks and the Denver Broncos a few years ago. I mean, nobody wants to sit down and watch a 43-8 blowout. Last year's Super Bowl, it was idealistic. The interception on the goal line, New England was 28-24. Or 2 years before that, where the Ravens picked off Colin Kaepernick, and I think he missed the missed completion, whatever the case was, and Baltimore ended up winning 38-31. Or the Giants winning over the New England Patriots 21-17 the year before that. Or we go back to the undefeated season and New England win 17-14. Steelers over the Arizona Cardinals, that was a phenomenal one, 27-23. There's nothing, like I said, there's nothing worse than watching blowout games such as Tampa Bay over Oakland back in the day, back in 2003, 48-21, or Baltimore over the Giants in 2001 at 34-7. there's nothing worse than sitting there trying to put yourself through a blowout Super Bowl, because the odds are you don't have a dog in the fight as it is. I mean, out of all the fans out there, the percentage of fans per team is going to, unless you're, I don't know, maybe a Dallas and a 49er or Dallas and Steeler, the odds are that there's a very small percentage of fans out there that is actually a fan of the team. And it takes the historic teams to have that fan base. I'm sorry, but New England's fan base is not going to be nowhere close. And we know that Seattle, just like this year, Carolina and Denver. As historic as Denver is, and the fact that John Elway, Peyton Manning, all the pieces on this organization makes it to be a pretty popular team. The fraction of fans that'll be watching the Super Bowl that are actual Panther or Bronco fans are going to be very minimum. So to have a blowout game, there's nothing worse, because you already have very minimum fans actually watching the game. The rest of them are just watching, tuned in because they're either part of a football pool, or they want to watch the commercials, or they just love the event and just want it's the only football game on this weekend. So that kind of weighs into the whole factor why people are even tuned in. But when you start having a blowout game, then that takes away from the excitement of this game. And I've always been curious, and I wish they would change this up, why we don't always have the best two teams go in. Why make it? It has to be an NFC versus an AFC. Because not every year the AFC and NFC team are the top two teams. Some years there's two teams that NFC team or the AFC team are the best teams. It is not always necessarily one or the other. And I wish that there was some way or a plan made to be able to change that, because I want to see the best two teams possible. I don't want to just see a team from the AFC and a team from the NFC. I want the best of the best. And this weekend, now that we've had an opportunity to kind of put out all the topics that need to be put out there. I mean, we've done watch Cam Newton try to make this whole thing about race. We've done seen the media try to make it about Peyton Manning's last rodeo. We've watched the Broncos organization, Broncos fan, Peyton Manning's family, so forth and so forth, try to not release any information on whether or not he is planning to retire or if he's going to continue or whatever the case may be. Now we're finally getting, well, I thought we were finally getting somewhere. And until the media decided today they were going to ask why Cam Newton was in socks with his flip-flops on or sandals on versus just worried about the subject at hand. And he would turn around and ask him why he was wearing shoes with his jeans or jeans with his shoes, whatever, vice versa. But we're starting to get to a point that the gloves are finally about to come off. we're starting to not have to listen and have the nonsense be talked about. Now it's starting to get to time where things get to be more focused. And we get to be focused more on the matchups. The top offense versus the top defense. Which, Rashad Mitchell earlier in the week, pointed out the fact that 9 out of the 11 times the number one defense has won. And that's an encouraging, stat for not only Denver fans out there, but for myself as well, who does not want to see the Panthers win by any stretch of the imagination. I just don't want it to happen. And so now we're starting getting into the interesting facts and more of the reality of this weekend. And it's starting to finally, it's starting to build up, and you're starting to finally. Reality's starting to sink in that Super Bowl is right around the corner. The Super Bowl is like 4 days from now. Not even at this point technically 4 days anymore. As now we're almost done with Thursday. And at my house, I'm going to be probably the only one here for most of the game, as Shorty will now be getting off and probably still about 8, 9 o'clock that night. And so I will probably have, for the most part, an empty house for pretty much the whole game. And, the fridge is already full. Excuse me. So one thing I got to do when I get off work is pick up a few snacks from my job. Beer is already bought. I took care of that. We had a little special at work, and we had broken up 12-packs and 6-packs, so we had 50-cent cans, 12-ounce cans, and 75-cent 12-ounce bottles. So I got a 12-pack of Red Apple, pretty much half and half regular and half green apple, for about $7, $8, whatever it is. And so I'm set. The beer has already been taken care of. The snacks will be taken care of. I mean, that's where we're at now. And now as we build closer and closer to this game, now my mind starts to kind of wander into prior Super Bowls and some of the crazy games that for the longest time, and I'm sure if I look for it very hard, it's probably laying around somewhere. I know once upon a time I had it, and it was recorded right after Back to the Future on a VHS tape. But I had the Denver Broncos and the New York Giants Super Bowl tape. Super Bowl in 1987, Super Bowl, what was that, 21? And the Giants ended up winning 39-20. It ended up being pretty lopsided. And I did not want the Denver Broncos. I was not a Broncos fan. Not that I'm a Giants fan. But something about, I just wanted the Giants. I tell you what it was. I being a Browns fan, I was so anti-Denver and so anti-John Elway. I did not want the Denver Broncos to win. That was one of those Super Bowls we were supposed to be in. And it just didn't happen. And I can remember watching Super Bowl 20, the Chicago Bears and the New England Patriots. I remember we went to one of my mom's friend's house, and it was the first time I watched anything on a big screen TV. And I ended up betting my mom. I didn't know anything about the team back then. I didn't know, how, I didn't know nothing about that 85 Chicago Bears team. All I knew is I wanted to go get to my mom and that team, and I did not want the Bears to win, which obviously did not fare out in my favor. Now, I mean, even Refrigerator Perry was scoring, so yeah, that tells you how bad that game was. It was at 46-10, but I can remember. I can remember sitting there watching that one. I can remember, like I said, we had that Giants and Denver game on VHS for the longest time. And I would watch it forever. If I'm not mistaken, Michael Jackson performed during that halftime show, if I remember correctly. And I think that was really, outside of the Chicago and New England game, which I don't think that I've really paid that much attention to it. But I think that Giants-Denver Super Bowl was really my first Super Bowl that I was 8 years old at that point in time, just shy of 9, that I really, really started paying attention to the Super Bowl and really have a desire. And I can remember the 1988 Super Bowl at Jack Murphy Stadium, where the Washington Redskins and Doug Williams beat the Denver Broncos, first starting black quarterback on the Super Bowl, and obviously won. And from there, I can remember a lot of each of these next Super Bowls coming up. I can watch I remember the San Francisco Giants beating the Cincinnati Bengals on a pass to John Taylor in the end zone towards the end of the game, and it was just humorous because the rest of my family is Cincinnati fans, and a lot of the people I went to school with were Cincinnati. We were about 45 minutes from Cincinnati. I was about 6 hours from Cleveland. I was one of the few Cleveland Browns in my clique, and it just humored me because just like Super Bowl 16 when the 49ers beat the Bengals 26-21, at the very end of the game, we watched the 49ers do the same thing and come back and put the exclamation point on the Cincinnati Bengals once again, which was, of course, very entertaining. Then, of course, 1990, I'm still not over the hate for the Denver Broncos and to watch the San Francisco 49ers run up the score 55-10. As much as I hate lopsided Super Bowls, there was nothing more bittersweet about the 49ers spanking the Denver Broncos. Denver, a lot of those Super Bowls that they lost right there, when they lost to the Giants 39-20, when they turned around and lost to the Redskins 42-10. A lot of those games, that was supposed to be, especially that 87 and 88 year, that was supposed to be the Cleveland Browns. The fumble and the drive just really, one play and one drive kind of decided the whole season for the Cleveland Browns and put the Denver Broncos into the Super Bowl. They really weren't the best team. And it took an off play or an off day for the Browns, who were the better team, that should have been in the Super Bowl, that would have been competitively close and probably even won those games because they had a really good team those years. It was a shame. And so, of course, then, of course, you had that run. I don't know who ever forgets this, the run of the Buffalo Bills' 4 straight losses. And it's funny because I cheered for the Bills all 4 years. I even had a Buffalo Bills shirt. That first year where Norwood missed that field goal to lose to the Giants 20-19. Then it's never really got close ever again for the Buffalo Bills, losing 37-24 to Washington. And then, of course, losing to Buffalo or Dallas the next 2 years with a combine of 82-34. But God, I wanted to be a Buffalo Bill. I wanted to have a team with, Jim Kelly, Andre Reed, Don Beebe, Thurman Thomas, Cornelius Bennett, Bruce Smith. That team was just holy crap. And as great as they were in the AFC, that's the prime example what I was talking about. Need to get to a point where we can have the best 2 teams in the league, not just the best team in the AFC and the best team in the NFC. Because that was a prime example when 3 straight years Buffalo kind of easily took care of the AFC, but then they were waxed 3 straight years, and that Giants game was the only one that was even really close. And there's been a lot of years it's been lopsided like that. A lot of the lopsidedness has been, unfortunately, the NFC over the AFC. Then the 49ers over San Diego. San Diego finally makes themselves back into the Super Bowl. And 49ers almost double up 49-26. Then of course we have a classic. Super Bowl 30. Dallas and Pittsburgh. I tell you what, the fights, the arguments, and the debates over those two teams, and to watch Dallas 27-17 over the Pittsburgh Steelers in that mid-'90s, where Dallas was just unstoppable, winning 3 of 4 Super Bowls. And the only one was obviously the one the 49ers of San Diego participated in. Then we watched Green Bay. I was overseas when that happened. I remember watching this Super Bowl. I was cheering for New England once again. I don't know. I just wasn't a Green Bay fan nor a Brett Favre fan at that point in time. And, I learned to appreciate Brett Favre a lot more over the years, especially more and more that, I educated myself on the accomplishments he made and truly how good of a player Brett Favre really was, especially at the quarterback position. So I really I can remember while I was overseas. I can remember there's 3 things of sports I can remember while I was overseas. I can remember watching the Super Bowl, and I know I specifically had to remember watching it because the time difference. We had to get into where they were playing the game like 3:00 in the morning, like because the time was so far off that the Super Bowl was like beginning at 3:00 or something. And of course we got a PT every time there was a thing going on like that because of the fact that it was just the time difference. I can remember the World Series, and that was just because my Cleveland Indians gave the World Series away to the Florida Marlins, and that really sucked. And then the other event I remember while I was overseas in Bosnia was the Laker girls came over. And I saw pictures going around here somewhere with me with the Laker girls. But those are 3 sport things I can remember. But I definitely remember the Green Bay New England game. John Elway, the next year, 98, finally gets him a win in the Super Bowl over Green Bay, and follows that up against the Dirty Birds. Who doesn't remember the St. Louis, Tennessee game where Tennessee tried to stretch? The receiver tried to stretch that ball to get the touchdown call that he fell about a half a yard short on the very last play of the game to give the greatest show on turf Super Bowl win. And it's rather humorous that they get this label of being the greatest show on turf, and they won 1 Super Bowl, and that was it. They won 1, and then 2 years later they've returned finally and lost 1. And they get labeled the greatest show on turf, and that is all they accomplished. There's never anything said about New England about being the greatest this or the greatest that. When the next 3 out of 4, they lose to the New England beat St. Louis, and then go to the next 2 out of the 3 Super Bowls, and they're not labeled the greatest anything. But you got St. Louis who goes and wins 1 Super Bowl by half a yard. 2 years later, returns and they lose, and they're the greatest show on turf. That still kind of has me scratching my head. Of course, we had the Baltimore Giants Super Bowl in there. The Baltimore Ravens finally found themselves in the Super Bowl with probably the best defensive effort we've ever seen. That former Cleveland Browns team was finally finished and assembled off, and they finally got them a Super Bowl. I think the biggest thing outside of I'm a Browns fan, so I'm about the most anti-Baltimore Ravens fan you could possibly be at this point, still in my life, even though it's been 21 years at this point. I think the other thing that aggravates me is the fact that because of that Super Bowl win, we got to listen to Brian Billick talk. Bill Billick, Brian Billick, what the hell his name is. We still got to listen to him talk on SportsCenter like he has any really knowledge. He won 1 Super Bowl, and that's really all he did. Baltimore never really was good before then or after then. After that point, never went back to the Super Bowl until, of course, recently under Harbaugh. But yet, they like to acknowledge him on ESPN like he is some god. And I know it's quite an accomplishment that you got Trent Dilfer to win the Super Bowl, but to count on and hold Billick's opinion so high for someone that's not really done that much, I don't get that. What other Super Bowls we have? It's cool. And we're going to do a lot of this tomorrow. I think tomorrow I'm going to jump into some performances and talk about maybe some records and some of the better performances we've seen out throughout the years. But just to spend these two shows preparing for the Super Bowl and reminiscing about prior Super Bowls. We followed that New England win over St. Louis with Tampa Bay over Oakland. Chucky Gruden gets himself I remember that. I ended up getting a Tampa Bay. I ended up getting a Warren Sapp jersey his rookie season, and it was more of a statement. I'm not anti-marijuana. Like, you want to smoke weed, you smoke weed. I really don't care. There's never been an incident that someone has died from marijuana. And it amazes me because we have like 400,000 people a year that die from alcohol and 140,000 a year that die from cigarettes. And they are legal because you can put a label on them and they can be taxed. But outside of Colorado and Washington, every other state has marijuana illegal because they are not able to tax it yet, and there's no label on it, even though medically it has been proven that it doesn't kill you. There's really no side effects other than you get lazy, I guess. I don't know. I guess you want to call that I know many people that work 100 times better while they're high than when they don't work or don't smoke. That's just, people I've been around. So my Warren Sapp jersey, which, over the years I've learned to regret buying the Warren Sapp jersey, just all the legal and ignorant stuff he did. And I wish I never would have supported him. But was cheering on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I want to say it was the same year that the Cleveland Browns went to the playoff, if I'm not sadly mistaken. And I remember we lost to I think it's the one time we even made it to the playoffs since we returned. And I know we played the Steelers. I specifically remember that. And the reason I remember that is we'd already lost to the Steelers twice. And here we are in the playoff. And we play the Steelers again. And we're beating them. We're winning this game. I'm like, finally we lose, or finally we are going to, where we at, 2002 season. So that would be the 2003 Super Bowl. So yeah, that year. We were up by a nice little bit that game. I want to say 2 touchdowns, maybe 3. I'm trying to pull it up for what we was up. I'm trying to get a score by score here. 17 to 7 at the half, 24-7. Trying to see how the scoring went on that game. So we were up 24-7 in the third quarter, and we was even up 33-21. With 3:06 left in the game, and we lost. 33-20. It's the life of the Browns fan, and like I said, I was at work. I either had a radio going or I forget how I was catching the game, but I just can remember we were up, like I said. I didn't realize it was even that bad. It was 33-21 with 3:06 left in the game, and Maddox finished off a 77-yard drive with a 5-yard touchdown pass to Hines Ward, cutting the score down to 33-28 The Browns tried to run out the clock on their ensuing possession, but Northcutt dropped a potential first down catch on 3rd down and 12, forcing the team to punt. Taking over in their 42-yard line, Maddox threw to Burris for 24 yards, Ward to 10, Burris again for 17, and Ward again for 7 before Mamuta that finished off with a 3-yard touchdown run. Then Tooman scored the 2-point conversion to give the Steelers a 36-33 lead, and obviously the Browns attempted a drive for a tying field goal. The time expired in the game on Holcomb's 16-yard completion to Andre Keene at the Steelers' 29-yard line. I can remember that because I'm up here at work trying to pay attention to work and trying to listen to my team at the same time. And I'm saying if they could finally, we've done loss of this team twice this season. Finally, we're going to beat the Steelers, the Pittsburgh Steelers. We got 3 minutes left. We're about 12 points. We're good. And to listen to my team just throw it away once again. This was like the drive and the fumble all over again. But that's more of what I specifically remember of the Tampa Bay-Oakland Super Bowl was the games leading up to that, and more specifically the Browns and the Steelers game. Oh, next year, New England and Carolina. I think I was still overseas. Maybe I wasn't. Maybe I was back at that point. I got back that August. I forget where I watched that game or watched part of that game. It wasn't. I think with 2 jobs, one being the military. So you know, for those that listen to the show, that in the military, you know how at least back then what your schedule would be like back in the late '90s. Now, sometimes I kind of kick myself in the butt. Sometimes I wish I would have stayed in. Knowing that the work schedule changed. I mean, these guys now, half days, work every other day. It is nowhere near like it was when I was in. The only thing that I'm thankful for is, I couldn't do it with a child. I'm sorry, I just couldn't be gone 6 months to a year at a time and miss all my son's life. But also, I could not imagine going to Afghanistan or Iraq. I was just fortunate enough to go to Bosnia, and that was really the worst thing I had to experience while I was in. But Jake Malone throwing all those interceptions, giving the New England Patriots a 32-29 win. A lot of Carolina fans, obviously, they wanted New England to be in the Super Bowl this year to kind of return the favor, what they thought they was going to return the favor. I would have no doubt in my mind that New England would win if New England would have been in the Super Bowl this year. Now Carolina will win. Then we had the New England-Philadelphia, that last drive where Philadelphia was trying to make a comeback, and Donovan McNabb, sloppy, out of shape. Donovan McNabb just had no oomph in it and did not run a hurry-up offense because his unathletic, I'm not going to call you an athlete. You don't think NASCAR drivers are an athlete? Last time anybody looked in the mirror, matter of fact, any in jail right now, Donovan McNabb, he was, I don't know how Philadelphia even made it to the Super Bowl with that sloppy garbage. But, yeah, I think I was pulling for Philadelphia that year. As much as I was Donovan McNabb, I have a lot of respect for T.O., and I like what he did, and he was entertaining. Pittsburgh, Seattle. Seattle got the raw deal on that one. The officiating on that Super Bowl was horrible. That was probably one of the worst Super Bowls I'd ever watched. I had never seen officiating so lopsided and horrible. It really put a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth in that Super Bowl. Indianapolis and Chicago. I was at a buddy's house. I remember this, the Super Bowl party. It was really my first Super Bowl party. Had met and became friends with one of my recs, one of my customers where I was the GM at the time, and I got to come out and hang out with them and watch the Super Bowl over there and watch Peyton Manning get his first Super Bowl ring. Next year, obviously, the Giants in New England. We all know how that always ends. I don't know. The Giants just seem to always have New England's number, and that was one of 2 Super Bowls that I unfortunately had to watch the Giants win. Steelers, Arizona. That was a very interesting game. Harrison made their return, tiptoe catch by Holmes to get Steelers to win. Battle back and forth, great game. I was obviously cheering for the Arizona Cardinals during that Super Bowl, as I am anti-Steelers fan. But yeah, New Orleans and Indianapolis, of course, with the Super Bowl in 2010 with the onside kick that kind of threw everybody off, and I think the Saints just went up and just never looked back. Really, it was a blowout game, 31-17, but Indianapolis could never just fully catch up in that game, and Sean Payton, Drew Brees getting their first Super Bowl, and here they are still together 6 years later, obviously itching for another one, and I think at this point they're about as far away as they've ever been from being back in the Super Bowl. Green Bay and Steelers, I was all about some Green and Yellow. That was when that Black and Yellow song was out, and they remixed it for the Packers, and Woodson and his performance, and Aaron Rodgers, and I was, at that point in time, I had just left. I had just got released from my other job, and he was a Steelers fan. That was another reason why I hated the Steelers at that point in time. And got to see the Green Bay Packers put on a performance. And, of course, we followed that up 2012 with the 21-17 win for the Giants. I tell you what, I don't know what it was, but the Giants, they would go into both of those playoffs, the wild card team, 9-7, and just make this run and beat not just everybody. They had to win the wild card, the divisional round, the conference round, but then beat the best team in football both those seasons. And one of the seasons, the Patriots were 18-0. We go back to the 2008 Super Bowl, the 2007 season where New England was 18-0 going into that Super Bowl. And I can remember we had a Super Bowl. I didn't say Super Bowl party, but we had a get together after work. We had a bunch of customers. We all hung out and watched it, and we were all on the edge of our seat, and that was a very close, good game. And I can remember sitting in the lobby and everybody hanging out watching that game. Baltimore and the 49ers, obviously, I wanted the 49ers to win, but I called it early in the season that the move to Colin Kaepernick was just not a great move, not a smart move, that ultimately he was going to cost you the Super Bowl when they made it to the Super Bowl. And sure enough, the interception, the lack of knowledge, the wasted timeouts ultimately ended up killing the 49ers' chances to win the Super Bowl. Of course, we talked about the lopsidedness of the Seattle Seahawks, that 43-8 run over the Denver Broncos 2 seasons ago. And then last year we watched, like I said, that interception by Butler on the goal line, and they still controversy and conflict on that whole, whether that should have been pass interference and interception, why Pete Carroll didn't call a run for Marshawn Lynch, why Russell Wilson just didn't run it in. They're still, your conspiracy theories, and then, of course, your disgruntled fans that think that there should have been a pass interference and everything else. But I tell you what, just to sit here today, it's what I did a lot today, was outside of getting the press releases and everything scheduled and working on admin stuff, I sat there and thought about all these Super Bowls. And more specifically, the Super Bowls I've got to sit and watch. That I can remember sitting and watching and sitting and cheering on. I don't think 30 years of Super Bowls that I can actually remember. I might not have sit through all of them, and this is with me going to basic training. I was at basic training from, actually I was at AIT when that Super Bowl happened, because I went into basic training in 96, Halloween of 96, and I was out beginning of January. So, but as an AIT one year, I was in Bosnia another year. Seems like I was somewhere else another year. And to know that one way or another for the last 30 years, from the Super Bowl in 1986, that I sat at my mom's friend's house on the first big screen that I ever watched TV on, period, let alone the Super Bowl, all the way to this year, 2016 Super Bowl. I've either sat there and at least watched part of it, if not all of it. Just the things it's funny, and I challenge everybody out there listening to the show tonight, or catching this tomorrow over in the I-95 Sports Network. Think about it. Think about how far back you can remember it and how many Super Bowls you can honestly remember. Not because of whatever controversy call, even that phenomenal catch by Tyree, those things stick out. That's why I remember that Super Bowl. Because not because there was a headline about it, not because the Patriots were 18-0, and that's why you remember the Super Bowl. Not because the Buffalo Bills went for 4 straight Super Bowls. Why you remember those Super Bowls? But I could give you examples of why I remember these Super Bowls and remember watching these Super Bowls. I challenge you guys, as we're 3 days away from Super Bowl 50. Super Bowl 50. And I can remember 29 of them myself watching. Now, the rest of them before that, I have DVDs and VHS tape. Well, we used to have VHS tapes of Super Bowls, and I've watched all the highlights of every Super Bowl prior to that. But I can physically remember watching, and I can remember the first Super Bowl that I watched, 8 years old. Of all the Super Bowls for the last, this will be 30 years. How many Super Bowls can you say you've watched in the last how many years? Have you watched them all? Have you at least watched part of all of them? How many in a row? I'm going on 30 years, literally 30 years in a row. At least having some kind of visualization of a Super Bowl. I'd say what the other exciting part is the fact that they're already starting to drop those sneak peek commercials. Scout love those. That the only thing that sucks is a lot of the good ones you've already seen before they get out. I love the ones that they've been banned, that you only can get to see them on Facebook or different links that you can get off Facebook that were too hot for TV, and I think those are the only ones that should be released ahead of time. And I've gotten to see 2 or 3 of them already. One of them I don't think I've actually got to see yet. I think I shared it so I could see it later on. I just couldn't get it pulled up. I wish that they would quit releasing the ones that are actually going to play this Sunday, because it's like a lot of times those are the best ones, and you've already seen it, and it kind of ruins it. That's part of the Super Bowl experience is the commercials. This is one time a year that, because there are so many people that watch the Super Bowl, so many people like me that have not missed a Super Bowl in 30 years or more, they work a lot of money into these commercials and go above and beyond. And as great as it is to be able to release some of the stuff on our block sites, because I've done that many years, or just be able to see them in general, because you never know if your schedule is going to line up. Last handful of years until this last year's Super Bowl, which I thought where I was working at the time, yesterday's Pub and Grill at 98 Amadilla Road, Sanford, North Carolina. You guys need to check them out. The handful of years before then, I was always working at pizza shops. I could not get off. That's one of the busiest days in the pizza business. And, we would stream it live, on laptops or, my other job, we had a TV in there, but, I had to do it all around work. And so I didn't get to see all the commercials. And, as great as it is, it kind of takes away from, what these people are paying for. All eyes on, them. And so you know that you're getting closer and closer, and the excitement is building when you're starting to get some of those previews out there. And, seeing some of the commercials that are going to be released. And I'm sure there's going to be another one, the classic Budweiser with the, and I don't really know, I should know the type of horses they are, but you know what I'm talking about. And the last few years, I think it's involved the dog growing up or whatnot. And I am sure that we're going to have a good Doritos commercial. It seems like they've been stepping into that a lot lately. And I can imagine Coke or a Pepsi commercial to put themselves out there. But I challenge you guys. Back to what I was talking about. I want to know. So those that catch the show tonight or catch the show later on, or catch it over the I-95 Sports Network, I want to know how many Super Bowls, let's 50 Super Bowls as of this year, how many can you honestly say that you have watched some of live? Not recorded, not on greatest moments of, not on the NFL Network, but live have caught. I can honestly sit here and say 30 years worth. How many can you go back and recall? And then also, how many in a row has it been? I mean, just because you recall you've seen 25 doesn't mean that you watched the last 25 straight. Tweet me on Twitter. I would love to see and be able to share some of these answers tomorrow on tomorrow night's show. All right, one, how many Super Bowls of the 50 have you seen at least at a minimum a quarter worth? I've seen at least a quarter of all these games. Most of them all the way, some of them halftime, some of them, because of work and everything else. But at least a quarter of it live. How many of the 50 Super Bowls have you watched? And then how many in a row have you watched? Dating back from the last Super Bowl. So Super Bowl 49, backtracking, how many of those in a row have you seen prior? So how many out of the 50 or out of the 49? And then how many in a row leading up to this Super Bowl have you seen? At CJ Sports 1, tweet me. I will not only retweet you, but I'll also share it over on the 110 account as well. And we might even do something on Facebook with it, just to get you guys out there, to let you guys know that I'm reading your guys' tweets, and we try to be as fan interactive as possible. So make sure you guys check that out. And make sure you guys please let me know. I was really curious. I mean, I thought about it earlier today, but I at the same time I didn't really think about it. It's like, wow, I've watched a lot of Super Bowls, and I can remember a lot about these Super Bowls. But it wasn't until I'm sitting here looking at this list and this roster and results of Super Bowls that I really realized how many Super Bowls that I've sat there and watched and how many years in a row it's been. Like, I never would have thought here getting ready to turn 38 at the end of this month that I've sat here and watched 30 years of Super Bowls in a row. So, that's definitely something that I was not thinking or expecting, and yeah. So, make sure you guys tweet it. Love to know. Love to know. Don't forget, tomorrow we're going to be on here back here at 9 o'clock. I'm going to jump into. I'm going to jump into talking about, like I said, some of the greater performances of the Super Bowl history, records that have been set in the Super Bowl, and maybe some records we can expect to be broken. I am sure there's going to be quarterback rushing records that we can expect to get broken, and touchdowns by a quarterback, I'm sure that we expect to get broken, and at the age of Peyton Manning and the year that he's been in the Super Bowl, maybe there's some records that, with his fourth appearance, he'll be able to break. You also got to figure he's been in 2 Super Bowls with 2 teams and 4 coaches or whatever the case is. There's a lot of different records out there, so we're going to look into that tomorrow. We're going to talk about that. Just kind of get you guys set up for what records are in reach. And what records can be reached and what records we expect to be beat, or maybe we'll be shocked if it doesn't get broken. And just other full Super Bowl information tomorrow night. Just kind of we'll call this the Super Bowl party, and we'll have some other fun facts and things that we'll definitely talk about when it comes to the Super Bowl. We'll kick off 9 o'clock. Don't forget, you can check me out at CJ Sports 1. Like I said, tweet me. The 49 Super Bowls have you seen, and how many in a row, dating back from last Super Bowl, have you seen in a row? Also, you can check us out at 110 Nation. Check my fan page out, Mr. CJ Sports, the 110 Nation fan page out at 110 Nation Sports. Check out our blog site, www.110nationsports.com. Like I said, we had about 6 or 8, I want to say 8 press releases we let loose today. Thanks, as the NASCAR season is right around the corner, and we want to get that information out to everybody. So go over there and check that out, and also check out the other articles that we have dropped over there. I'm definitely working hard to bring you guys more on that aspect of the company. Also check out our site, www.110nation.com, for all the latest going on here at the 110 Nation. Like I said, if you're interested in joining the 110 Nation, maybe you want to write for us, or maybe you got a show that you would like to have rebroadcasted on our network, or maybe you want to host your own show. Or maybe you're more of a behind-the-scenes person. Maybe you want to help, maybe be an admin over our social media, Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff. Or maybe you're good at behind-the-scenes stuff such as PR, marketing, all that kind of stuff. All you do is hit me up, MrCJSports@gmail.com. Also, if you're interested in being on the show, if you're an athlete, part of some kind of athletic organization, team, maybe you got a site or a show and you want to come on and promote it and talk sports, or maybe you got some kind of charity or foundation, all you got to do is hit up Miss Lee, that is LEE_110nation@yahoo.com. Also, if you're interested in advertising with us, like I said, all you do is hit me up at MrCJSports@gmail.com. No matter how big or little your advertising budget is, we have a plan for you. So invest into this growing company to help us continue expanding and getting bigger, while at the same time getting exposure to our fan base, and it is growing daily. Before we know it, I'd be venturing to say, between all the networks, the sites, the social media, before the end of this year, we're going to be about 250,000 strong monthly. So get a lot of exposure, and we're not too far from that number as it is. So it's we're definitely tracking in the right direction. So if you're out there and you want to get some exposure for your company and want to help us be able to expand, like I said, hit me up, MrCJSports@gmail.com. Like I said, there's not a budget too little or too big for us. We'll definitely make a package for you. And I can guarantee you, for those companies out there that you're kind of, I don't know if I want to, I guarantee you that if you invest and advertise this with now, as things continue to grow, and then therefore that means rates continue to grow, you will be well taken care of. I can't guarantee that you will be locked into the same permanent rate, but I guarantee that your rates will be much nicer and real close to what you're getting into now with versus the other companies or anybody else that invests or advertises with us later on. So take that into consideration while you're sitting there on the fence whether or not it's time for you to invest or advertise with us. 110 Nation Morning Show, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Make sure you check us out. I will be live. I will be awake. I will be functioning at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, so make sure that you guys tune in. Also, Monday through Friday, we've got the 110 Nation Sports Show every Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Make sure you guys check us out. Had great shows this week. If you missed shows earlier in this week, we had a great roster of guests to start off this week. And like I said yesterday, one of the things that we got to get in the hang of being a 5-day week show. You know, for the longest time, for about the first of the year, we was just 3 days, and you know that's all we had to. That's all we had to plan for. And now that we've extended, to 5 days, it's one of those things that we're working on to have guests every single day of the week. And I'm going to put this out there before we wrap this up. And I talked to Shorty about this last night. If you're interested in being my co-host, like not just come on 30 minutes a day, 30 minutes a week, or come on twice a week or whatever, but to be there 5 days a week. If you got the dedication, you got the knowledge, we got the chemistry, and you passionately want to be part of this and be part of this show, hit me up. I would love to have the opportunity to have a co-host on a nightly basis that I can bounce off with, that we have a great time, that we have a great chemistry, and to be here. And, I've talked about this with Shorty in an extensive amount of time. I've had that opportunity. I would love to have that opportunity again and make it, even more soothing for the fans to listen to. But, we've had 8 people in the first 3 days. So, it's one of those things that we're working on, getting Thursdays and Fridays, so we're having guests every day of the week. We had prior obligations, so we were trying to leave days open for other stuff and everything else. But, there's one thing to work on, and so, but it's been a great week. Allie Kern, Drive for Diversity Programs, Tim Clay, the PR over at Triple M, and ARCA commentator. We also had author Rashad Mitchell. And then, of course, Tuesday we had Gus Dean, ARCA Series driver for Triple M. We had Enzo join us, our NHL expert. And, we had Zach Boychuk of the Carolina Hurricanes. And, of course, yesterday we had Mark Rett of Rhett Jones Racing and Dominique from Rhett Jones Racing. And then next week we already got 4 in the first 3 days lined up. Well, 5. So, we back at it. So if you guys missed the shows Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you need to get back and check those out. A lot of great shows, a lot of great guests that we've had this week. But don't forget, Friday night, 7 o'clock, we got Happy Hour Garage, 2-hour long, great show, NASCAR fans. We got 3 hours straight racing day on Sundays. You cannot beat that, because we follow it at 9 o'clock with the Dirt Talk Hour, the hottest show on the 110 Nation Sports Radio Network right now. So make sure you guys check them out as well to wrap up our 3 hours of racing talk on Sunday. And then don't forget, this Saturday we got a special Happy Hour Garage. They had 2 episodes last week, and due to the format programming scheduling, we couldn't get them both in. I couldn't, just the way things work with the platforms we're on. So we got that scheduled for the BTR side to drop at noon on Saturday. So you guys make sure you check that out. Tomorrow morning, like I said, 9 o'clock. Make sure you guys are here tomorrow night, Super Bowl party. We're going to talk all things Super Bowl, stats, records, everything. Make sure you guys tune in for that. Until tomorrow morning, you guys have a great night.
Thanks for listening to the 110 Nation Sports Show with Mr. CJ Sports. You are a part of the 110 Nation, so be sure to visit the 110nation.com for everything related to the show. You can follow CJ on Twitter at 110nation and on Facebook at 110 Nation Sports. Until next time.
There are lots of things you can spend your tax refund on, but one thing you don't have to spend it on, a new smartphone. Switch to Metro PCS now and get not 1, but 2 free 4G LTE smartphones for brands like Samsung and LG. Plus, you're on T-Mobile's blazing fast nationwide 4G LTE network. Hurry! Switch to Metro PCS and get 2 free smartphones after instant rebate. One heck of a deal, only at Metro PCS. Limited time offer. Sales tax not included in phone price. Coverage and services not available everywhere. See store for details and terms and conditions.